The alchemist is an old profession that is both dangerous and powerful, at least in terms of fantasy fiction and that kind of thing. So let's talk about the alchemist specialist of the Artificer. Hey fellow Game Masters, I'm Richard Quiner and welcome back to the RPG Daily. I know it's been about a month, but I'm still here to help you build your world and master your game. February is a weird month for me. It's birthdays and Valentine's Days and other birthdays and more birthdays. There's just a lot happening in February. But we're back to finish up this Artificer series, talking about the specialist. Today we're breaking down the Alchemist specialist of the Artificer. One of the first, well, there's only 3 right now, so it's one of the 3. As I go through how this Artificer works, I want you to let me know what you think of it in the comments below. Give me your thoughts on the Alchemist. The main point behind the Alchemist is they are a person that makes potions. That's basically it. They make elixirs, tinctures, concoctions, potions, liquids, juices, whatever you want to call them. The Alchemist makes them, and they use them in combat and other aspects of D&D. It just fills in the life with some good old potions in their basket. So now let's talk about how the Alchemist works. At level 3, when you choose this specialist, you gain proficiency in Alchemist supplies. This is your tool that you'll use to cast your spells and to make your potions every day. If you already have the Alchemist supplies proficiency, then you get to pick another artisan tool to gain proficiency in. So it's kind of a free tool proficiency at level 3 when you choose a specialist. Also at level 3, you begin your list of Alchemist Spells. The Alchemist Spells are a lot like the Cleric Spells, where the Cleric has certain spells that come in at certain levels that they get for free. The same goes for the Alchemist. At certain levels, you'll get certain spells that may or may not already be on the Alchemist spell list, but you'll have them for free. They'll always be prepared for you, ready to use whenever you need them. You'll get 2 spells at levels 3, 5, 9, 13, and 17, and those will be of spell slots levels 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, respectively. So we're going to break down what spells you get, and I won't go in depth with all of the spells, but I will touch on some of them. At level 3, you're going to get Healing Word and Ray of Sickness. Healing Word, we've talked about, it's a very quick healing spell. Ray of Sickness, you make someone sick. You give a little poison damage. Both are very simple level 1 spells. At level 5, you're going to get Flaming Sphere or Melf's Acid Arrow. Melf's Acid Arrow is a spell that goes back to early days of Dungeons & Dragons. And it's essentially a green arrow that when shot at a target, and it's more of a spell, right? You don't actually need a bow to use Melf's Acid Arrow. It essentially sprays acid on your target, and when it does, it deals 4d4 acid damage in that moment. And then at the end of your next turn, it deals another 2d4 acid damage as well. So it's kind of the damage that comes back the second time around. At level 9, you're going to get Gaseous Form and Mass Healing Word. Now, we've talked about Mass Healing Word with the Clerics before. It's a good healing word. It heals everybody real quick. But Gaseous Form is a different type of spell. It lets you touch a willing creature and you turn them into a gas cloud for an hour. They could also be blown away by a stiff wind. It just lets you turn them into some mist, and then they're mist. It's kind of a weird spell, really. At level 13, you get Blight and Death Ward, and we've touched on both of these before. Death Ward, you keep someone from dying instantly, like if they drop down to 0, they bounce back up to 1, and Blight is a high damage spell that you have. At level 17, you get the spells Cloud Kill and Raise Dead. Raise Dead lets you bring someone back to life. We've known that. We talk about that one. But Cloud Kill isn't a fun one because you get to create a 20-foot radius sphere of poison cloud that has the potential to deal 5d8 damage to any creature that enters it. In addition to that, the cloud kind of moves. Every turn, it will move 10 feet away from you as if it's drifting along the wind. So it's kind of a slow-moving projectile cloud that can just hit people really hard with that 5d8. That sums up all the Alchemist spells. You'll see with the Alchemist, they deal a lot with poisons, they deal a lot with chemicals. That ties into the theme of this specialist, which the next we're going to talk about is also at level 3. You get the ability called Experimental Elixir. Experimental Elixir works by, after a long rest, you can touch an empty flask and create an elixir that has some sort of effect. The effect you create is actually determined by a roll of a die. It can give flying speed, it could give a bonus to armor class, it could just be a healing elixir. It has a number of things on the list of potential elixirs that you could roll on. That happens when you finish a long rest. And the elixir actually lasts until the end of your next long rest. So you have it for a whole day, essentially. When you hit level 6 and 15, it allows you to make 2 more elixirs depending on the level, 1 more at level 16 and 2 more at level 15. Each of these will get their own die roll at the start of the day, giving you potentials for more options in your experiments. You also have the option, though, to expend a spell slot to create an elixir. This time, though, the elixir, you can choose what the effect will be. You don't have to just roll on the die table, but again, you are burning a spell slot that you could use throughout the day. This elixir is kind of the bread and butter of the Alchemist Specialist. It's what makes this class its class. So everything else beyond this kind of goes to fortify and help make that even better and even more interesting. At level 5, you gain the ability Alchemical Savant. This means that you're so good with chemicals now that your rolls actually get a little bonus just from using your alchemist supplies to cast them. So how this works is when you cast a spell using your alchemist tools, you're able to get a bonus on one of the die rolls of that spell. But it does have some limitations. That die roll must be used to either restore hit points, so a healing, or it must cause acid, fire, poison, or necrotic damage. Those are your options for this. The bonus you get to add to that roll is equal to your intelligence modifier. The bonus you get to add to that roll, though, is equal to your intelligence modifier, so you have the potential of getting a pretty high bonus on your rolls just by using your alchemist tools. And essentially, since you are the alchemist, ideally, that is what you would be using for all of your spellcasting. At level 9, you get the ability Restorative Reagents. Or is it Regents? I think it's Reagents. I've heard that so many times in like the last month. I don't know. Anyways, a reagent or a regent is an ingredient that goes into your potions, and essentially at level 9, you get to start adding a little bit of healing benefits into your potions. Kind of like a wheatgrass shot. If you've ever had one of those, they don't taste good, but they're supposed to be good for you. At this level, you get a couple bonuses. When a creature drinks one of your experimental elixirs, they get to gain 2d6 plus your intelligence modifier in temporary HP. So it's as if you put some of that wheatgrass into your morning elixir. In addition to that, if you use your alchemist tools, you can cast the spell Lesser Restoration without any cost. At level 15, you get the ability Chemical Mastery, which just means you're so good with these chemicals that they don't even pose much of a threat to you anymore. At the base, you gain resistance to poison and acid damage, and you become immune to the poisoned condition, so you can't be poisoned. On top of this, you're able to then cast the Greater Restoration spell without it even being prepared. There are other conditions, but there are a couple, and I'd rather you look them up rather than me have to explain all of them here in this video. That basically sums up the Alchemist. You see, it's a lot of poison damage, it's a lot of chemicals, and this kind of fun with liquids, essentially. Thinking about the potential ways to build this or how to do more with this, I'm kind of running into a rut with feats on Artificers. The Keen Mind is a great one because it does improve your intelligence, but the other parts you get from it don't really help with the Artificer class entirely. Of course, there's always Resilient. You gain Resilient, and then you add that to your Constitution, and you get the proficiency in Constitution saving throws. That is an option as well, but really I'm having a hard time coming up with feats that would work really well for this specific specialist. So if you think of one, let me know in the comments below. And of course, if you like this specialist, let me know. Let's have a discussion about the Alchemist. I've been Richard. Thanks for watching.